Hello, and welcome to MetricNet's instructional video on the Call Center Balanced Scorecard. Today what we're going to do is walk through the steps required to create a balanced scorecard for your call center. Let's start by taking a look at some of the more common KPIs in a typical customer service call center. Here on page 1, I've listed 25 different key performance indicators. We've organized them into 6 categories. We've got cost metrics, quality metrics, productivity metrics, agent metrics, service level metrics, and call handling metrics. Now there's 25 KPIs listed on this page. That is not a comprehensive listing by any stretch. There are literally hundreds of key performance indicators that I have seen in this industry used for customer service call centers. But one of the perennial dilemmas in running a call center is answering the question, how are we performing and how are we trending? No single metric on this page is going to answer that question for you. As an example, if your customer satisfaction improves month over month, that is generally a good thing. But what if your costs are also going up month over month? Now, is that a good thing? Well, costs going up generally is not a good thing. Customer satisfaction going up is a good thing. So on balance, are we performing better or worse than we have historically if both our costs and our customer satisfaction are increasing? A number of years ago, MetricNet recognized this dilemma. We realized that despite all the key performance indicators that exist for customer service call centers, most have a difficult time answering the question, how are we performing overall? And secondly, how are we trending in our call center? And so MetricNet developed the balanced scorecard to resolve that dilemma. Let me explain how the scorecard works here on page 2. The first step is to identify the metrics that you want to include in your scorecard. You don't have to use the exact same metrics I've shown here, but we have selected 6 metrics that we believe to be particularly important in customer service call centers. We've got cost per contact, customer satisfaction, first contact resolution rate, agent utilization, agent job satisfaction, and a service level metric, average speed of answer. Again, we believe that these are among the most important metrics in a customer service call center. The second step in constructing the scorecard is to put a weighting on each metric. You will see that we have overweighted cost and quality, cost per contact and customer satisfaction, because these are known as the foundation metrics. These are the 2 most important metrics to monitor and to manage in a call center environment. But they are driven respectively by first contact resolution rate, that's your driver of customer satisfaction, and by agent utilization, that is your driver of cost. Those get a 15% weighting each. And then we put a 10% weight on agent job satisfaction and a 10% weight on the average speed of answer. These weightings, of course, have to add to 100%. And it's a bit of a judgment call as to how we put these weightings on here. But once again, we have overweighted cost and customer satisfaction because those are the primary measures of efficiency and effectiveness. The next step is to estimate or determine through benchmarking what the typical worst performer would be in a representative peer group of call centers that are like your call center, and what the best performer would typically be in a representative peer group of call centers that are like your call center. This is an important step because these ranges will differ depending upon the complexity of your call center and the type of service that you are offering in your call center. In this particular example, the worst performer in a benchmarking peer group of like call centers was spending $8.47 per contact, and the best performer in that same peer group was spending $4.33 per contact. The worst performer in this representative peer group had a customer satisfaction of 62.7%. The best performer had a customer satisfaction of 98.3%. Ideally, you want to conduct a benchmark and select these values, the worst case and the best case, based upon a peer group of call centers that look like your call center in terms of scope and scale and complexity and geography. If you're unable to do a benchmark and unable to develop these worst case, best case scenarios from a peer group benchmark, the next best thing would be to estimate what you believe the worst possible scenario would be for performance in each of these 6 metrics for your call center, and plug that value into the third column from the left. And the same thing, what is the best possible scenario for your call center? What is the best cost per contact, the best customer satisfaction, the best FCR that you might expect to achieve in your call center? So absent benchmarking data, which is ideally how you should populate the third and fourth columns from the left here, you want to estimate for your own call center what is the worst possible scenario. Those values would go in the third column from the left. And what is the best possible scenario? Those values would go in the fourth column from the left. The next thing you're going to do is put your own performance each month in the third column from the right, each month or each quarter, depending upon how often you refresh your scorecard. And then the metric score is calculated using this interpolation formula. Worst case minus actual performance, so worst case minus your performance is the numerator of the ratio. The denominator is the worst case minus the best case, the range. That will give you a metric score between 0 and 100%. If you're at 0%, it says you have the worst performance in the benchmark. If you're at 100%, it means you have the best performance in this benchmark or in this performance range. So your score will range between 0 and 100%. This is a simple interpolation formula. It tells you how far along the path you are from the worst case to the best case. The final step in constructing the scorecard is to multiply the metric score by the metric weighting to come up with a balanced score for each of the metrics in your scorecard. And when you add that together, you will come up with a single overall measure of your performance that will range from 0 to 100%. Now, when we run hundreds of call centers worldwide through this algorithm, the average score is only 50%. And we get a nice bell-shaped curve, a normal distribution centered right above 50%, with tails running off to the right above 60%, tails running off to the left below 40%. Typically, if you're in the range of 50 to 60%, you're going to be a second quartile performer. If you're above 60%, you're likely to be a first quartile performer. If you're between 40 and 50% on your scorecard, you're going to be in the third quartile typically, and below 40%, those are typically fourth quartile performers. Now here's the beauty of the scorecard. We have taken a disparate set of metrics, some with units of dollars, some with units of percent, some with units of seconds. And we've normalized them, rolled them together, and aggregated them into a single overall measure of performance that we can use to compare against other call centers in the industry. Here's the score we just calculated, 55.6% down here on the legend. The average for this peer group, more than 100 call centers, is about 50.3%. As I mentioned, the average score is only about 50%. The best score was 86.5% over here on the far left. The worst score was 13.8% over here on the far right. Having a score of 55.6% places this call center above average. They are a second quartile performer. So the scorecard allows you to compare yourself on a fair apples-to-apples level playing field basis versus other call centers in the industry. If you update the call center scorecard either monthly or quarterly, you can then track and trend the trend in your performance. This is real data from a client of MetricNets. The blue bars represent the monthly scorecard that was calculated. You can see that the trend is in the upward direction. The purple background represents the trailing 12-month average. So the scorecard enables you to track and trend your performance and answer the question, how are we trending? And also, how are we performing overall? Let's take a closer look at the scorecard in a spreadsheet that you can download from MetricNet's website. What you will download from our website is the scorecard template, which I'm showing on this particular page right here. Now the first step, as I mentioned, is that we're going to populate this with the performance metrics that you would like to include in your scorecard. You can pick any metrics you want. Now I've pre-populated this to save a little bit of time in the video. Here we have the metrics, same metrics we were just looking at, cost per contact, customer satisfaction, FCR, agent utilization, job satisfaction, and speed of answer. You can put any metrics you want in this column. You can have fewer than 6 metrics or more than 6 metrics. So please do not feel constrained by the template. You have the ability to add or subtract metrics from the template and include any metrics that you believe to be important. The next step will be to put weightings on these metrics, which we have done in the next tab. Here are the same weightings that we just went through in our illustration. We've got a 25% weighting each on cost and customer satisfaction. We've got a 15% weighting each on first contact resolution rate and agent utilization, 10% each on job satisfaction and average speed of answer. The next step will be to populate these ranges, which I have done right here. These are the same data values that you just saw. They represent for a peer group of call centers that are like the call center in this example, the worst performer and the best performer. The next step would be to put your performance in the third column from the right. This is your actual data for the month or for the quarter, depending upon the frequency of the update of your scorecard. And then the calculation would be the interpolation formula that I just showed you. So I'm going to go to that tab, and you can see that we have not yet put the performance data there, so we've got some values here that don't make any sense yet. But the final scorecard will contain your actual performance, the calculated metric score, and the calculated balance score. Let's take a look at that. There we go, 55.6%. That's the example that we just went through. So what you can download from MetricNet's website is the scorecard template that you can populate with the metrics that you would like to include. You can put the weightings in the scorecard based on your own preference. You don't necessarily have to follow our weightings. You want to put ranges in these two columns based on either benchmarking data or your own estimation of the worst case and best case scenarios for your call center. Your performance would then go in the third column from the right, and the calculation will take place automatically in the template that you can download from the MetricNet website. Now there's a tab in here called Performance Ranges. These values are automatically plucked off the scorecard that you construct. And what we can do then is take a look at our monthly performance. Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that our performance in January looks just like the performance in the example that we just went through. So I'm going to copy that data into the January scorecard, and here we've got our calculation. If we want to trend our scorecard, what we can do is take that data right out of January. There we go. And we've got the first bar now in our call center scorecard trend. Now, if we want to update the February data, let's just say that our February data looks a little bit different than our January data. I'm going to change a few metrics here. Let's say that our cost increases to $7 just for the sake of the argument, but our customer satisfaction drops to 96%. Okay, we've got a score now of 50.9%. So what we can do is pluck that number right out of there, and there we go. Okay, so we've got a descending trend, at least so far. Don't expect that your trend will go straight up or straight down. It's not unusual for it to move up and down, to have some fluctuation. Let's say during the month of March, our performance changes yet again. We go back to, this time, $6.25 per contact. Let's say we get to 98% customer satisfaction, and our FCR goes to 75%. Now we're at 59.2% on the scorecard. So let's populate the March scorecard with that data. And there we've got a trend that's, again, starting to move in the right direction. So we have provided this template for you on our website. You can download it, populate it with the metrics you would like to include in your scorecard, put the weightings that you would like to include on your balanced scorecard, include the best and worst case scenarios, your own performance, and the template will automatically calculate your metric score and your balanced score. So let's get back to our presentation now. You're going to start by downloading your scorecard template. You're going to select the KPIs for your scorecard. You're going to put a weighting on each KPI. You're going to enter the ranges for each KPI in the scorecard. You're going to enter your own performance data, and the scorecard will automatically calculate using that interpolation formula that we reviewed earlier. And then just keep it up to date. Once a month or once a quarter, you update your scorecard, and you will be able to see a trend in your performance. And again, the purple background represents the trailing 12-month average. MetricNet has written a companion white paper on the Call Center Balanced Scorecard that I would also encourage you to download from our website. You can reach MetricNet if you have any questions about the scorecard by emailing us at info@metricnet.com or by calling us at this phone number in the United States, 703-992-8160. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed MetricNet's presentation on how to construct a call center balanced scorecard.